probably one of the most unusual cases that I think we have investigated since I've been sheriff and probably in my career.
Bet you are wondering what's going on over there and why the police chief had to make such a statement, right? A woman was arrested for using a fake license to get a nursing job that endangered over 4,000 patients. Yes, you heard that right. Autumn Marie Bardisa used a fake nursing license to work for one of the biggest healthcare providers, AdventHealth.
We believe that there were over 4,400 patients that she was in one manner or another that was involved in care at AdventHealth Palm Coast, which is our newest hospital in Flagler County.
Tell me, what's the first thing you expect from a hospital? Clean sheets? Modern equipment? The best doctors? No. You expect safety. You expect the people treating you to actually be qualified to do it. So explain this to me. How do one of Florida's biggest healthcare names, AdventHealth, manage to let a woman who failed her nursing exam slide right into their hospital with a fake license and not only keep her there but promote her? Let's start at the beginning.
So let me just tell you, there is a felony warrant for your arrest, okay? There is a bond on it, okay, which is good. It's, I believe, $70,000 is the bond amount, okay? So you can bond out.
What? For what? For what?
You know what all this is about?
Not really. I kind of had something with the Department of Health, but I have my license.
Okay.
And I thought it was squared away because it's clear and active.
Okay. So that does stem from this. We were contacted, not me directly, but a guy with Health and Human Services reached out to you a couple months ago.
Yeah, and I had an attorney, and I haven't heard anything since.
Okay, so the attorney reached out to him and said that you were currently being represented and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a conversation with you, but if you're represented by an attorney and that's somebody that wants to be here for all that kind of questioning, I obviously am limited on where this conversation can go.
Can I know what is a
It has to do with medical fraud. I can get the exact thing. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it has to do with medical and stuff like that.
Okay.
You have 7 counts of identity theft and 7 counts of practicing without a license. And this does stem from everything with the Department of Health and AdventHealth and all of that stuff. I mean, you're already aware of it. You've given statements to them, to other investigators before. This is just your first time meeting me.
Okay, identity.
So, no, I've been with the other guys whenever they're doing their investigation, but I was not face-to-face with you for those
So
can I just call her on my phone at least?
Yeah, well, no worries. We'll let you do all that. Now, we can't just take the handcuffs off you because, I mean, I know you're saying you're not going to fight, but I mean, you've seen TV, you watch the movies, like you see.
I've never had an arrest record. I've never done anything.
I'm not saying you have, okay? But we just don't want to. We don't want it to escalate to some place that we put it, because we take the handcuffs off you. But what we can do is get the person who's watching your child, and if you want to tell them what's going on, you certainly can. I mean, or if you want us to tell them.
Can I call them? Can you just take them off so I can call her on the phone at least?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
No. I'm not going to.
No, but I'm going to grab your phone.
We'll grab your phone and put on speaker for you. Yeah, we'll grab your phone and put on speaker. No, the point is that I'm not saying you're going to do anything. We take the handcuffs off. That gives you it puts it there. Okay.
Okay. It's not. It's 0411. And can you go to recent calls? And then yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Turn it up for you. Looks like your front door's open.
Yeah, I was walking. Yeah, please.
Did you want to step inside out of the heat for a second?
Is that okay?
Yeah. I mean, anyone else inside the house?
Grab your keys for you.
Okay, can you I promise I'll...
Is anyone else inside the house?
Just my dog, but he's... Can you just be taken off? I won't do anything.
We can't take them off for right now, okay?
Come walk to your house.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, just... Yeah, I'll just move my car in the driveway.
Autumn Marie Bardisa, 29 years old. She wanted to be a registered nurse. She took the state exam and she failed. That should have been the end of the story. No RN license, no RN job. That's how the system is supposed to work. But somehow this story takes a turn. Because instead of going back, studying harder, and passing legitimately, Bardisa allegedly found another way, a much darker way. She applied to work at AdventHealth Palm Coast Parkway in July 2023. She didn't walk in with an empty resume. No, she came armed with someone else's license number, belonging to another nurse named Autumn. Different last name, different person. When AdventHealth noticed the mismatch in names, she had an answer ready. Oh, I just got married. And here's where AdventHealth should have slammed the brakes. Should have said, great, show us your marriage certificate so we can verify. They did ask, but Bardisa, she never handed that certificate in, not once. And yet they let her keep working. Now let's get this straight. AdventHealth is a hospital system with billions in revenue, advanced patient tech, and strict policies on paper. Yet somehow, nobody bothered to properly verify her license through the state database. Nobody thought to confirm if she even existed in the RN registry. Nobody flagged the missing marriage certificate. What does that say about their hiring process? About their internal checks? How many other nurses could slide in the same way? Between June 2024 and January 2025, Bardisa allegedly treated 4,486 patients. That's over 4,000 people trusting AdventHealth with their lives, only to be treated by someone who wasn't legally allowed to do the job. And this wasn't some shadowy corner role. She wore the scrubs. She had the badge. She worked on the floors. Patients saw her, believed in her, trusted her. Let's be honest. If you or your family were in that number, wouldn't you be furious? Here's the part that will make your jaw hit the floor. In January 2025, after all this time, AdventHealth didn't just keep Bardisa around. They offered her a promotion. A promotion? How is that possible without someone finally checking her credentials? It took a curious colleague, not HR, not management, to dig into her license number and realize it wasn't hers. That's how the truth came out. So let's ask, why did it take a random staff member to do what an entire hospital HR department should have done on day one? When the truth surfaced, Bardisa was fired on January 22nd, 2025. AdventHealth then reported her to law enforcement. And yes, that's the part where they finally acted. But is that enough? Or is that just damage control after months of negligence? Because while they're quick to say, we take this seriously, they still let her work for months without the required proof. They still let her care for thousands of patients. They still almost gave her a bigger role. How many layers of management saw her name, her missing certificate, and thought, it's fine? How many compliance officers skipped the one-click license verification anyone in Florida can do online? And if they missed this, what else is being missed? Yes, Autumn Bardisa is facing the charges. 14 felonies. Practicing without a license. Fraudulent use of personal identification. But she didn't put herself into that hospital's staffing schedule. She didn't give herself access to patients. She didn't promote herself. AdventHealth system, its policies, its checks, allowed her in and kept her there. So here's the real talk. This isn't just Bardisa's scandal. It's AdventHealth's too. Because if a fake nurse could work there for months, what does that say about the screening process for everyone else? The doctors? The technicians? The agency hires? Is this an isolated case, or just the first one we're hearing about? And think about the victims, not just the 4,486 patients, but their families, their trust in healthcare. If the hospital can't guarantee the people they hire are legit, what's the point of the system at all? AdventHealth had one job: to protect patients, to verify that every person walking in to treat them is qualified, licensed, and safe. Instead, they let a failed exam candidate slip through with someone else's license, a story about marriage, and zero proof. They let her work, care for patients, and even get in line for a promotion. They didn't just miss red flags, they ignored them. You might be thinking, I don't live in Palm Coast. This isn't my problem. But if this could happen there, it could happen anywhere. Every hospital, every clinic, every urgent care center has a hiring process. And if the biggest ones can fail this badly, smaller ones could be even more vulnerable. So let's put the spotlight where it belongs, on AdventHealth. Why was Bardisa allowed to start without verified credentials? Why was the missing marriage certificate not a deal breaker? Why did it take over 7 months and a promotion offer for someone to finally question her license? And how many patients were put at risk because of it? We can hold Bardisa accountable in court. But who holds the hospital accountable? AdventHealth, this is on you. You handed her the badge. You let her walk the halls. You let her stand at the bedsides of thousands of unsuspecting patients. And now you owe those patients answers, not PR statements, not quiet settlements, real public accountability. Because if there's one thing more dangerous than a fake nurse, it's a hospital system that doesn't notice. Or worse, doesn't care enough to look. Have you ever stopped to think, what if the person standing over your hospital bed, the one checking your floor, adjusting your meds, smiling as they tell you you're in good hands, was never supposed to be there? Because in Palm Coast, Florida, that's not a what if. That's exactly what happened. And the name at the center of it all? Autumn Marie Bardisa, just 29 years old, and now facing multiple fraud charges that have the whole community asking, how did this go unnoticed for so long? Let's rewind to July 3rd, 2023. AdventHealth Palm Coast Parkway, a brand new facility opened just months earlier, was filling staff positions. Bardisa applied for a job as an advanced nurse technician. That role means you're under the direct supervision of a registered nurse. Nothing unusual there. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. According to the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, Bardisa told the hospital she was an education-first RN. Translation? She'd finished her schooling, just needed to pass the licensing exam. Sounds harmless enough, right? Except, at some point in her hiring process, that detail shifted. She allegedly claimed she had already passed the RN exam, even providing a license number to prove it. Here's the kicker. That license didn't belong to her. It belonged to another nurse named Autumn with a completely different last name working for AdventHealth, but in another location. Now, I have to ask, would you have caught that if you were HR? Or would you have trusted the paperwork, just like they apparently did? When AdventHealth noticed the mismatch in last names, Bardisa had an explanation ready. She claimed she had recently gotten married and changed her name. That's why, she said, the license had the old surname. The hospital asked her for a copy of her marriage certificate. Standard procedure, right? But here's where things start to look suspicious. She never turned it in. Not once. Think about that. The one piece of paper that could clear up the confusion. And she just didn't provide it. How many weeks or months do you think you could go in your job without giving HR a required document? From June 2024 to January 2025, Bardisa allegedly performed duties normally reserved for licensed nurses administering care, interacting with patients, without an actual RN license. The Flagler County Sheriff's Office says she came into contact with 4,486 patients during that time. Let that number sink in. That's not a typo. That's not a handful. That's thousands of people, every single one trusting she was a legitimate nurse. What would you do if you found out the nurse who cared for you wasn't actually licensed to do so? Would you be angry, scared, or shocked that nobody noticed sooner? It might have gone on even longer, except for one unexpected twist. In January 2025, Bardisa was offered a promotion. And here's where fate, or maybe just good old workplace curiosity, stepped in. A colleague decided to check her credentials. That quick check revealed she didn't have an active RN license at all. The only license in her name? An expired Certified Nursing Assistant CNA license. That was it. No RN credentials. No valid registration with the state to perform the work she'd been doing for months. At this point, what would you have done if you were her boss? AdventHealth moved fast. They confronted her, and when she couldn't provide the marriage certificate or any valid licensing documentation, she was terminated on January 22nd, 2025. It's worth noting, the hospital didn't just let this slide. They immediately contacted law enforcement. And once the Flagler County Sheriff's Office got involved, things got a whole lot more serious. This wasn't just an internal HR problem anymore. This was a potential criminal case involving fraud, impersonation, and public safety. The investigation took 7 months. It wasn't just the Sheriff's Office on the case. They worked with the Florida Department of Health and even the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. They had to review everything: patient records, employment files, credentialing documents, the real license holder's information, and of course, Bardisa's background. All the while, people in the community were asking, how was she able to work for so long without the right license? Who was supposed to verify her credentials? And what about those 4,486 patients? Were their treatments safe? You have to admit, it's a story that makes people talk. Was this pure deception from day one? Or did she start small, just stretching the truth, and then get it over her head? Why use another nurse's license number, knowing the risk? And what about the real nurse whose license was copied? How did she feel when she found out? And perhaps the biggest question of all, could this happen at any hospital? Could it happen where you or your family gets care? By the end of January 2025, Bardisa was unemployed, and the sheriff's office had a case building against her. But at that point, the public still had no idea. Behind closed doors, investigators were piecing together a timeline, collecting evidence, and preparing for what would come next. And when they finally moved in August, well, that's a story for Chapter 2. Because that's when the arrest happened. And that's when Autumn Bardisa's double life as the nurse who wasn't came crashing down. She treated thousands. She wore the scrubs. She spoke the lingo. But according to authorities, she was never a nurse. In the next chapter, we'll walk you through the day she was taken into custody, the charges she's facing, and the staggering public reaction to one of the most shocking hospital fraud cases in Florida history. So what do you think so far? Was this the fault of one woman? Or the system that hired her? Drop your thoughts below. We want to know. All right, buckle up, because what happens next is the part no gossip rag could make up. When you imagine being pulled out of your home in scrubs, under arrest for pretending to be a nurse, it's the kind of headline that stops scrolls crime show binges. But trust me, this is real life. Let's rewind to August 5th, 2025. After months of investigation, detectives finally had enough. A warrant was issued. Autumn Bardisa was located, right at her front door, still wearing her medical scrubs. And then the cuffs. Humanity on camera, mid-gulp of disbelief. Here's where you've got to wonder. Did she believe her luck could last forever? Or was she just not expecting this moment to come so soon? Picture the scene. The fugitive unit surrounds her Palm Coast home. She's in scrubs, clearly heading from, or maybe still going to work. Here's a 29-year-old whose entire story hinged on sly deception. And now she's in handcuffs in her driveway. And get this. What's going on? She reportedly asked officers in one version of the footage, just minutes from being charged with 7 felonies. That moment is surreal. It's a scene that makes you ask, was she stunned? Embarrassed? Still playing imposter? Now, serious question, just how many charges? We're not talking traffic tickets. Bardisa was hit with 7 counts of practicing healthcare without a license and 7 counts of fraudulent use of personal identification information. 14 felony counts in total. That's not just a slap on the wrist. This could be jail time, substantial jail time. And this honeypot of identity fraud. Well, it's only the start of the legal squeeze. Here's a line from Sheriff Rick Staley that echoes in every local newsroom. One of the most disturbing cases of medical fraud we've ever investigated. Harsh words? Yes. Accurate? Unfortunately, yes. Remember, 4,486 patients. That's a staggering number. The sheriff's exactly right. This wasn't small scale. This wasn't once or twice. This was a full-blown impersonation operation. Here's a twist you might not expect. The authorities created an email address for victims to contact them directly. fakenesscase@flaglersheriff.com. Imagine that maybe your loved one was one of those 4,486 patients. Any one of them could have been misdiagnosed, receiving treatment from someone unqualified. And now they're being invited to come forward. What would go through your mind? Should you reach out? Share your story? Demand answers? After the dramatic arrest, Bardisa was transported to the Sheriff Perry Hall Inmate Detention Facility. Bond? Set at $70,000. And yes, there's a court date on the calendar. September 2nd, 2025 for arraignment. Can you feel the tension? That's less than a month away. Will we see her trial? A plea deal? Or will it escalate into something bigger? Now let's get real. Did the word spread? Oh yes. National headlines carried the story in full color and bold text. Fox News called it a disturbing case of medical fraud. AP and People painted it as shattering trust and asked 1 million times over, how did this happen? Social media lit up with opinions. Some blamed AdventHealth's hiring process. Others wondered about systemic flaws in credentialing. And tons of people were just horrified. Would people unfollow healthcare? Demand stricter rules? Or will this scare go viral for good reason? Remember that other autumn? The one whose license was stolen? Authorities say she attended school with Bardisa, but they did not personally know each other. Can you imagine waking up one day and learning your identity has been used in someone else's career? For months? That is identity theft on steroids. What if she's seeing her name in headlines and saying, I didn't do that, but it's my license, my reputation? Will she speak out? Hire a lawyer? Launch her own counterclaims? Let's not gloss over the aftershock. This wasn't just a local fumble. It became a multi-agency probe. The Flagler County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Department of Health, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the State Attorney's Office all got involved. Together, they reviewed documents and conducted interviews, hospital staff, co-workers, and that nurse whose identity was stolen. This wasn't a quick flip. This was a deep dig. Here's the million-dollar question. What does this do to public trust? When you check into a hospital, you expect real credentials, not shortcuts, not faked identities. You expect professionalism, not conspiracy. So what will healthcare systems do now? Tighten screening? Force two-factor identity checks? Will they demand marriage certificates and then verify them? And what about patients? Will we demand to see our nurse's original license before they touch us? Maybe someone reading this had a grandparent treated by Bardisa or had surgery scheduled with her. Maybe they feel angry or they feel fine because it all went smoothly. Are there quiet victims out there? People who got prescriptions, injections, IVs from someone unlicensed? It's chilling. Maybe someone's already emailed that fake nurse case inbox. Maybe they got answers. Maybe they found closure or an invitation to testify. So what's next and what can we all learn? Do we? Will AdventHealth issue a formal review or statement? Will patients affected seek restitution for emotional or physical harm? Will nurses' unions or licensing boards launch safeguards? Because here's the kicker. This isn't just Autumn Bardisa's story. It's a warning sign for the entire medical system. Chapter 2 closes with cuffs, flashing lights, and the legal trap snapping shut. Autumn Bardisa is behind bars for now. 14 felony charges. Thousands of questions. A community rattled. But there's more ahead. Chapter 3? That's going to unpack the courtroom drama, the legal consequences, and the longer-term impact on healthcare protocols. And hey, what do you think should happen next? Should she face maximum charges? Should the real nurse get compensation or her name cleared? Should hospitals nationwide demand double ID checks? I want to hear your takes. All right, get ready, because we're heading into the legal battleground. If Chapter 1 was the deception and Chapter 2 was the arrest, Chapter 3 is the showdown. Autumn Bardisa's world is shrinking fast, and every detail from here is under the microscope. Mark your calendars, September 2nd, 2025. That's the day Autumn Bardisa steps into the courtroom for her first appearance. No drama from defenders yet. There's no attorney publicly speaking up at this point. Turn 0 search 0. She'll be formally informed of the 7 counts of practicing healthcare without a license, plus 7 counts of fraudulent use of personal identification information. For each month, she allegedly impersonated a nurse. What will the courtroom energy be like? A hush. Judges gavel. Reporters pressing for reaction. Maybe family in the gallery mouths agape, wondering is she really that person they knew? Once arraigned, things get strategic. Will Bardisa plead guilty? Try for a plea deal? Or fight every count in court? Think about it, 14 felony charges could mean serious time if convicted. She's sitting behind bars on a $70,000 bond. Turn 0 News 18. We should all be asking, what kind of defense could be built here? Was her deception reckless or calculated? Could she blame system failures, or must we hold her fully responsible? Let's talk consequences. If found guilty, what's on the table? Florida statutes call practicing healthcare without a license a felony, punishable by up to 5 years in prison per count. If she's convicted on all 14 counts, that's potentially decades behind bars. Does she get consecutive sentences or time served concurrently? Sentencing guidelines, judges' discretion, perhaps plea negotiations, all spinning like chess pieces. Here's where it gets electrifying. Social media is ablaze. Check your nurse's credentials. Fingerprinting and 2 IDs make it mandatory. We trusted hospitals to think how many more slipped through. And it's not just chatter. Licensing boards and healthcare associations are watching closely. Could this spark national changes? Swipe cards, biometric checks, mandatory cross-agency license verification? The ripple effect could reshape healthcare employment if leaders choose to act. The headlines roll faster than you can blink. AP, People, LA Times, Newsweek. Everyone's covering this. It's the kind of case true crime nerds devour, horror fans nod at, and healthcare watchdogs seize onto. Turn Zero News 18. What will they latch onto next? The trial? The sentencing? A commentary on systemic failures? Maybe Bardisa walks away with probation. Maybe she's locked up for years. Maybe hospitals revamp policies. Maybe victims get settlements or nothing at all. Let me ask you what should happen. Should the system be stricter? Should we each demand to see credentials before procedures? Should stolen identity victims get recognition? Healthcare workers and managers, push your institutions to tighten hiring practices. Don't wait for disaster to strike. And to viewers everywhere, demand accountability. Demand that trust isn't just given, it's verified. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just one woman's legal saga. It's a wake-up call. It's a reminder that when credentials fail, trust and safety can collapse.